politicians talk about experience. How many years in the Senate, how many years in the House? I'd like to talk about my experience. There was once a country tortured with a bloody and endless war, Vietnam. Young men and women were dying every day. Our leaders again and again presented plans to win the war. This new strategy, they said, will change things. This time it will work. They warned of dire consequences if we left. It would end freedom. It would end our democracy. We must fight them over there so we don't have to fight them here. And young men and women were dying every day. One political party supported the war because they wanted to leave with honor. The other went along with it because they were afraid of losing elections. And young men and women were dying every day. During that time, Dan Ellsberg gave me documents that proved that our government had lied about the war. Repeatedly so. Our government arrested Dan, who had leaked those documents and tried to censor the newspapers that published them. What I decided to do made me no friend of either political party. I read those documents, which history calls the Pentagon Papers, into the public record. I told the people the truth about Vietnam, and I was prosecuted for it. In office, I did many things like that. I filibustered the end of the draft. I stopped nuclear testing in the North Pacific. I introduced legislation to establish diplomatic ties with China. I did those things because they were right, not because they would get me reelected. Today, we find ourselves in a parallel situation. We were lied to into an unnecessary war. We were warned of the dire consequences if we leave. We have one party that supports the war. We have another that won't take decisive steps to end it. And young men and women are dying every day. This is Fantasyland. We're talking about ending the war. My God, we're just starting a war right today. There was a vote in the Senate today. Joe Lieberman, who authored the Iraq resolution, has authored another resolution, and it is essentially a fig leaf to let George Bush go to war with Iran. And I want to congratulate Biden for voting against it, Dodd for voting against it, and I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it. You're not going to get another shot at this, because what's happened, if this war ensues, we invade, and they're looking for an excuse to do it. And Obama was not even there to vote.
Senator Clinton, I want to give you a chance to respond.
I see trees of green, red roses too.
It is unbelievable. The military-industrial complex not only controls our government, lock, stock, and barrel, but they control our culture. Understand that this war was lost the day that George Bush invaded Iraq on a fraudulent basis. Understand that.
Three most important enemies to the United States.
We have no important enemies. What we need to do is begin to deal with the rest of the world as equals, and we don't do that. Mainline candidates that turn around and say that there's nothing off the table with respect to Iran. That's code for using nukes, nuclear devices. I got to tell you, I'm President of the United States. There will be no preemptive wars with nuclear devices. I tell you, we should just play get out. Not a resolution, a law making it a felony to stay there. This is Fantasyland. We're expanding our nukes. Who the hell are we going to nuke? Stop and think.
Americans want to hear the truth. They're fed up with the partisanship. They're fed up with politics as usual. And that, of course, is not what I represent in the slightest.